Hello, everyone. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
It's our News Digest unit for the month of April. It also just happens to be our all-English unit, so we're not going to be speaking any other languages besides English if we can avoid it. A word might sneak in here or there, but in any case, we're talking about over-tourism today. That's a problem that we hear about a lot. There are too many tourists in some parts of the world.And, of course, everybody wants to travel, especially after COVID-19. So, yeah, people have cabin fever, and they really want to hit the road.
Yeah, I think people are tired of being stuck in one place, so they're trying to jump on the plane and go somewhere just to get out of Dodge, which just means get out of town. People just want to get away and see something new, get a change of scenery, which is always nice. We're going to read through today's article, guys, and then we'll be back to talk about some of these ways different countries are fighting or combating global over-tourism. Too many people.
As global travel rebounds following the COVID-19 pandemic, the long-standing issue of over-tourism has returned stronger than ever. Throughout 2024, numerous popular destinations worldwide struggled with tourist numbers that far exceeded their infrastructural and environmental capacities. Not only does this surge congest streets and pollute landscapes, but it also endangers cultural sites and disrupts the daily lives of residents. In response to the growing problem of over-tourism, various nations have adopted diverse strategies, some of which have sparked controversy. Venice, Italy has not hesitated to take bold action.Since 2024, the city has implemented one of the most discussed regulations, charging visitors up to €5, about 173 NT dollars, for single-day visits. This policy aims to reduce visitor numbers and preserve historic sites, though critics argue the fee is too low to effectively deter tourists and only addresses superficial problems. Similarly,Japan's tourist destinations are contemplating increased visitor or accommodation taxes to support infrastructure and waste management, along with a proposed threefold hike in entrance fees for international visitors at some heritage sites. Rather than implementing strict measures, some destinations have embraced creative solutions. For example, in the summer of 2024, Copenhagen, Denmark piloted the Copenpay program,with 24 attractions participating in the one-month scheme to promote sustainable visitor behavior. Tourists could earn rewards such as free beverages and museum tickets by engaging in eco-friendly actions like cleaning up litter from canals or using public transportation. The initiative strives to transform tourism from an environmental burden into a source of positive change.Addressing over-tourism remains a global challenge, and it's crucial to acknowledge that no one-size-fits-all solution can address its complexities. Whether through regulatory measures or innovative incentives, successful strategies must effectively balance the needs of local communities, economic growth, and environmental protection.
Welcome back, guys.This is our all-English unit again, so we don't have a Chinese teacher for you. So we will try to speak more slowly, more clearly, and hopefully you'll understand everything we're talking about. So we're talking about countries who are using, that's what employ means, to use, some sort of technique or method. Yes, it does mean to give someone a job as well, but we use it this way just to say to use a particular method.And they're trying to come up with different or diverse, or as you say it mostly in Taiwan, diverse. I say diverse most of the time. I think most Americans say diverse more than diverse, but they're both correct, and you can pick the one that you're used to saying. They're using different strategies to fight or combat global over-tourism, which just means too many people are showing up at popular tourist sites and...It's having an effect on those sites. It's hurting them.
Right. Too much tourism or over-tourism. And I think they have that problem here in Taiwan. I think someone told me that so many people want to go to Alishan to check out the sunrise and the sea of clouds and things like that. And I'm sure there are lots of other destinations in Taiwan that are stuffed with tourists. Okay, now here in the first paragraph it says, as global travel rebounds following the COVID-19 pandemic, the long-standing issue of over-tourism has returned stronger than ever. So this introduces the topic to us. It says that global travel has rebounded after the COVID-19 pandemic. So here we've got the word rebound. I think technically you're supposed to say rebound, but a lot of people just say rebound, like the travel has rebounded following the COVID-19 pandemic. But the dictionary will probably tell you that the pronunciation is rebound. Do you say a rebound or a rebound?
No, I say rebound. Just like the noun pronunciation of this word rebound, if you're a basketball fan, we never say, oh, he got those rebounds. No. For the noun, it must be rebound. For the verb, most Americans just say rebound. We don't say rebound. We also don't say transmit. We say transmit. So there are a lot of those kinds of verbs, but remember, for the noun, it has to be rebound. Here it's a verb.
Right. It just means to recover the situation that it was like before. It could also be in basketball, if you miss your shot, somebody jumps up and grabs the ball. That's a rebound. And here, travel is coming back again. It has rebounded following the COVID-19 pandemic, which, of course, is that terrible sickness that gripped the world about 2 or 3 years ago. And the long-standing issue of over-tourism has returned stronger than ever. So if something's long-standing, it has existed for a long time. And yes, this problem did exist before the pandemic, but the pandemic kind of kept everybody at home, so it wasn't really a big problem. It was probably the opposite, where places that depend on tourism did not have the income, and perhaps restaurants and hotels went out of business. But yes, indeed, this is a long-standing issue. It's a problem that's been around for a long time.
It's been an issue, I would say, probably in the last 50, 60 years when people had more money to spend. And we had things that were invented like planes, and people could get on planes who weren't as rich as some of the richest people on earth. So once people could travel and get around, some of these really beautiful, popular tourist attractions became flooded with people, you could say. So throughout 2024, numerous popular destinations worldwide kind of struggled with the tourist numbers they were coming up with because they far exceeded their infrastructural and environmental capacities. So infrastructure refers to your roads, your buildings, your power, your electricity, your water, things like that. That can make a big difference. I get tired of all the cars or the big buses or the traffic jams. Those are always hard to take. And environmental capacities, sometimes it really does hurt your earth and whatever you have there. There are too many people. There's usually a lot of trash and litter and people leaving things behind they shouldn't. So when we're talking about how it's affecting these tourist sites, we're talking about the great numbers of people and what they leave behind and what they bring with them, too.
Yeah, I heard about that in Kyoto. There are just too many tourists on the buses there, so locals don't have any way to get around. That is exceeding the infrastructural capacities of their transportation network, for example. And we've also got environmental problems. There's probably too much pollution and things like that. And not only does this surge congest streets and pollute landscapes, but it also endangers cultural sites and disrupts the daily lives of residents. So in this sentence, we have the not only, but also pattern. And in this particular case, we're talking about one thing, but we also have another thing. First of all, we're talking about this surge or this sudden increase in tourism, and that will congest streets. If something's congested, that means you have a lot of things in a small space, like traffic during rush hour in Taipei or even Kaohsiung is quite congested. Oh, it's quite congested here. Let's try to find a shortcut someplace. And yes, indeed, you could also pollute the landscapes. That reminds me of all those tourists trying to take a picture of Mount Fuji in front of a convenience store in Japan. They had to build a wall to keep those tourists away because they were having an effect on the environment.
Yeah, you can also use congest as a noun, congestion. A lot of people will recognize this word if they've had a cold or the flu and they have a lot of mucus or phlegm in their bodies. It just, what happens when you get a cold is that mucus becomes very thick, and so it can't really escape very well. That's congested. Oh, my lungs are congested. My nose is congested. Yeah, it's not very fun. So when you have too many tourists, it causes a lot of problems. It endangers cultural sites. Some of these sites belong to the history of the people there. They mean a lot to them and to the culture. And it also disrupts the daily lives of residents. Oh, yeah, if you've got a lot of tourists. I used to live in New York City, and it would drive me crazy that the tourists on the sidewalks, especially at Broadway, I had a job on Broadway for a while, they would be walking very slowly, checking everything out. I wanted to say, move, get out of the way, because we were on our way to work or going home from work, and you wanted to get home quickly or get there quickly. And so what you're doing as a tourist often affects the local people, and we're calling them the residents. So to disrupt something just kind of means you're causing a disturbance, you're getting in the way of something, you're making life difficult for people. Maybe you're becoming a problem for the residents there. So there are a lot of things that over-tourism brings.
Yeah, I've always wondered what people do if they live in places that are quite popular with tourists, like Yangmingshan, for example. On a Sunday afternoon, there are lots of cars on the road there, and they're, going really slow. So if you live there, what do? Do you just stay home on Sundays because you know you'll get stuck in traffic? These are concerns of local people because their lives are disrupted or they are interrupted by other people. Now, here in the next paragraph, it says, in response to the growing problem of over-tourism, various nations have adopted diverse strategies, some of which have sparked controversy. Okay, so in response to this problem, they're going to do something about this problem, to answer this problem, to do something about it. Various countries or nations in the world have adopted these strategies. If you adopt something, you start to use it, you think of an idea, and then you put it into action. You employ these strategies. And, of course, these are quite controversial. Controversy, of course, is when people debate something and they have different opinions about these things. There's lots of controversy over gun control in the United States, for example, or abortion or other issues like that. And controversy is the noun, and controversial is the adjective. Yes, gay weddings are quite controversial. Some people support them, some people don't.
Yeah, and it's usually a very public dispute. Lots of people become quite heated in arguments with each other. Hopefully, we can just discuss things as nice human beings, but sometimes there is a lot of controversy. Notice we're saying sparked because it kind of starts some controversy. So here's an example. We're going to Italy in Europe, to a very famous city called Venice that is actually built on water. So there are lots of canals around there, and it's always been kind of surprising to me that the buildings have lasted as long as they have. I think it kind of stinks in Venice, Tom, I have to be honest.
I've never been there, and I probably am not going to go there.
Well, it's not my first choice. I prefer Rome and Florence. Florence is my favorite city in Italy, but it's kind of smelly water, you can imagine. We've got all of these gondolas and boats that are on the canals, and they're going from one place to another. That's how you get around. And Venice has not hesitated to take bold action. They're trying to protect their city. The city's been around forever, and they've got residents that have been there forever as well. And they really care about their city continuing on into the future. So what have they done? Well, since 2024, the city has implemented or put into action one of the most discussed regulations. People have been talking about this. What do? They charge visitors up to €5. That's about 173 NT dollars, depending on the exchange rate, for a single-day visit. So if you want to go, or maybe even work there, Tom, this is for people who maybe have to commute. They're Italian and they commute into Venice. They have to pay this fee.
Well, they might get credit if they live there. Maybe they can
Hopefully.
show their ID or something like that. And, of course, 173 NT dollars is peanuts. I think that's not going to stop anybody, especially if they've traveled for hundreds of miles to go see Venice. They're not going to say, oh, I don't want to pay that fee. Well, I guess we're not going to Venice. Of course, they're going to pay it. It's nothing. But they're trying this out, and this policy aims to reduce visitor numbers and preserve historic sites, though critics argue the fee is too low to effectively deter tourists and only addresses superficial problems. Okay, so yes, that's the goal of it. They want to reduce the numbers of visitors. They want to make the number lower. And they also want to preserve historic sites. There are lots of old buildings and bridges and things there, and they want to protect them. But we've got critics of this policy, people who say bad things about it. They say, or they argue, that the fee or the cost is too low to effectively deter tourists and only addresses superficial problems. So if you deter something, that means you try to discourage people from doing something. You don't really want them to do it. So, of course, they don't want so many tourists there. They want to figure out ways to keep them away, to make them less likely to come, for example. Maybe if you're planning your vacation and you know there's this expensive fee to go see Venice, maybe you'll plan to go somewhere else.
I think it's just a tax. You know, they're adding another tax. And this tax will help, I guess, allay some of the costs and maybe help the city itself. But it's not very much money, as you say. If you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars to go all the way to Venice, you're not going to care about $5 a day. It's just, you know, a single day. So, yeah, it only addresses superficial problems because the fee is so small, really. Superficial just means it's not really that important. We often use it to talk about if we get a cut on our skin that doesn't go very deep. Oh, it's a superficial cut, or it's a superficial wound. You don't even have to go and get stitches in it. It'll heal pretty quickly. So sometimes we use this word to talk about something that appears to be real or impactful, but when you look more closely, no, it's not that important. So we use that sometimes to talk about things that are just on the surface. For example, maybe someone acts really nice to you, but then as you get to know them, you realize they're not really kind people. They just want something from you. So they're a superficial friend, right? It's not real. The closer you look, the more you see it's kind of false. So we're going to talk more about this, guys. But right now, even though we don't have a Chinese teacher, we're going to take a short break and then we'll be back.
Okay, let's continue with our lesson. We're talking about over-tourism, and of course, over-tourism is a big problem in various places of the world. We had that pandemic, and global travel has rebounded, has come back, and lots of people are traveling all over the world, and of course, that's causing problems in certain places with the infrastructure, and it's also causing problems with the environment. And of course, we've got congested streets, we've got polluted landscapes. And then these cultural sites are endangered and the lives of residents are disrupted. They're interrupted. What are they going to do with all these tourists holding up their phones and taking pictures of everything?
Well, there are a lot of problems. We talked about how Venice, Italy's trying to at least address it by charging a fee for people who are just coming into Venice for the day. It's not very much, and some people complain that it's really not going to reduce visitor numbers or even preserve some of their historic sites. Some of those buildings are so old. You know, they were built back in the 1500s, 1300s, 1400s. They're really, really old. So the critics of this particular policy that was adopted, they just say, oh, that's going to be ineffective. It's not going to work. It's not enough to deter tourists. And it only really looks at superficial problems. So we're moving on to Japan now. What's happening over in Japan?
In Japan, we've got a similar situation. They have tourist destinations there. And those tourist destinations like Kyoto and Nara and Tokyo and Osaka and places like that, they are contemplating increased visitor or accommodation taxes to support infrastructure and waste management, along with a proposed threefold hike in entrance fees for international visitors at some heritage sites. Okay, so this is a lot of information in this sentence. This is what's happening in Japan. the tourist destinations there are thinking about or they're contemplating doing something. What they're thinking about doing is increasing the visitor taxes or the accommodation taxes, which would be taxes for hotels and stuff like that. And this money will support infrastructure and waste management. So they can use the money to help out their local environment, to help with the bus system, for example, with the trains and stuff like that. And they also want to handle waste management. All those tourists bring their trash with them, and they need to get rid of the trash, or they need to handle the sewage from the toilets. And they also are proposing a threefold hike in entrance fees for these heritage sites or World Heritage Sites, which Japan has a lot of. Threefold just means 3 times. Okay, so if something costs $10, well, a threefold increase or a threefold hike would be $30.
Yeah, and I have to say, the one thing I really love, there are a couple things I love about Japan, but the one thing that is so impressive to me is how clean the country is. Everywhere you look is clean, and the toilets are clean. If you go into the bathrooms, they're nice. They just are really particular about cleanliness. If you know the Japanese culture, they're very particular about that. So I imagine with all these messy tourists who don't care about the trash and they don't notice that it's clean, although I've had a lot of friends point out, wow, Japan's really clean. I went, I love this part. So they have to spend a lot of extra money on hiring additional trashmen, and people are picking up the trash and getting rid of it. So yeah, they're proposing a much higher fee than I would say the €5 fee that you find in Venice. They're proposing that they hike entrance fees to some of these heritage sites up 3 times so that, you know, the international visitors also can feel like they're doing their part to keep these sites in good shape. But also, I think they deserve to pay extra. This isn't their country.
Indeed. And of course, those fees are not going to stop people from traveling thousands of miles to go to Japan, but they'll use the money to help out the situation by supporting that infrastructure and waste management.
Yeah.
Okay, now here in the next paragraph it says, rather than implementing strict measures, some destinations have embraced creative solutions. So yes, put your thinking caps on and think of solutions other than charging fees for visitors, because as you know, it's not going to stop anybody. Everybody wants to travel now. And well, I suppose if you charge them $1,000 or something, they may think twice about going to see some temple in Japan. But for the most part, people are not going to be deterred. So they have to come up with some creative solutions. And we're going to talk about those right now.
Well, here's one. We're going to go over to Denmark, Copenhagen, Denmark. And in the summer of 2024, they piloted a program. If you pilot something, you try it out before you roll it out across other areas. Maybe there's a new program that the Taiwan government's come up with, and they want to pilot it first in a smaller area to see what works, what doesn't work. They make adjustments, and then they roll it out to the rest of the cities. Well, they piloted a program called the Copen Pay program, and what they do is it covers, I would say, 24 attractions that are participating in this 1-month scheme. That's how they're piloting it. It's just for a short time. A scheme is a word, sometimes we use it for evil people who come up with really secret, corrupt plans. It's very underhanded. They're not good. We'll say he's scheming. We'll use it as a verb as well. But here we're just talking about a large plan or even an arrangement that you have a particular goal you want to achieve by putting it into action. So they are trying this Copen Pay for a month. They did this in 2024, and they were doing it because they wanted to promote sustainable visitor behavior. So they wanted to see if it would help, keep things as they are, to conserve, I guess, some of these attractions and keep them in good, in a good state, even though they have visitors who want to see them.
Yes, so whenever you see the word sustainable, it has something to do with the environment. You want to use things over and over. You want to recycle things and keep things clean and efficient. And tourists could earn rewards such as free beverages and museum tickets, by engaging in eco-friendly actions like cleaning up litter from canals or using public transportation. So if you're a tourist there, you could participate in this program. You could earn points or earn rewards, and those points or those rewards could be exchanged for free beverages. A beverage, of course, is a kind of drink. Yeah, you could have a Coke if you want to, or a Sprite, but there are probably some unique beverages in Denmark that you should give a try. I can't think of any offhand what a Danish beverage would be. And also you might get discounts or even free tickets to museums there. And you get these things by participating or engaging in eco-friendly actions. Okay, and some examples we have of that would be cleaning up litter from canals. They've got canals or artificial rivers in Copenhagen. And also you could use public transportation instead of, I guess, walking around or renting your own car or something like that. And so you can earn points by doing these things. This is kind of weird, though, because I can't imagine their canals having any litter at all, because Scandinavian people are rumored to be quite clean, like the Japanese.
They are. They're very, very clean. So I'm not surprised that they're putting this into a program and trying to adjust visitor behavior to kind of get them to behave better. And they think by rewarding certain people, it's going to help. I have to tell you, sometimes people don't care. They don't care about the rewards. They just want to do what's convenient. They don't think too much. There's some kind of sloppy people, dirty people who don't think about it. I was always shocked growing up. We would be on the road in my family's car, and there'd be a car ahead of us, and they'd roll down the window and they'd throw trash out.
Oh, no.
And I was like, who does that? Some people don't care. But I was raised to care, and I know you were, Tom. And some of these cultures that you're going to go and visit and travel to, they care too. So remember, you are a guest in the country you're going to. So the initiative strives or tries, that's what strive means, to work hard to do something, to transform tourism from an environmental burden, where it's really something that's difficult for the country to take care of, into a source of positive change. We hope that happens.
We certainly do. And of course, as you know, tourism brings in a lot of money to different places. So I'm sure they still want the tourists to come. They just don't want so many of them. And they don't want their local buildings and things like that damaged by all those tourists. Now, addressing over-tourism remains a global challenge and is crucial to acknowledge that no one-size-fits-all solution can address its complexities. So, of course, we do know that over-tourism is a big problem. It's a global challenge. Everybody needs to think about ways to handle this problem. And you're not going to stop people from traveling. That's what lots of people say they want to do in life. What do you want to do? Oh, I want to travel the world. I want to go here. I want to go there. So, of course, everybody wants to travel. So we have to deal with this problem with people wanting to go everywhere. So it's crucial or very important to acknowledge that there are different kinds of solutions. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. So here we've got the phrase one-size-fits-all. Sometimes you see that when you buy something like a baseball cap, for example. Maybe they don't have different sizes.
Yeah.
So it's a one-size-fits-all cap. Anybody can wear it, provided you don't have a really small head or a really big head.
That's right. We usually use the term to talk about clothing or articles that people buy that are good for just about anybody. Not everybody, but one size fits all is also used to just have a general solution to some sort of problem that people are trying to fix or solve. But you know that one size fits all doesn't really work with different cultures. So it's kind of an interesting way to think about it. So we've got lots of different ways that different countries, and we started out by talking about how diverse their strategies are, or how diverse, how different. So we are looking at all these different solutions that can address or confront all the complexities of the problems. Complexity is just another word for something being complex. If something's complex, it's really complicated. It's got a lot of different factors or a lot of different issues that you have to face or look at, and not just one thing. It's not simple. It's very complex. There are a lot of complexities. family life has a lot of complexities. It's never easy and all families are different. So whether through regulatory measures which come from the government, of course, making new rules, those aren't laws, those are rules, regulations, or innovative incentives, and that's what Denmark decided to do, incentivize people to do the right thing. An incentive is some sort of reason that motivates you to do something. So their incentive, of course, was to give these tourists rewards for doing the right thing or being a good person.
Exactly. So they've got all these ideas to control over-tourism, and they want to balance the needs of local communities, economic growth, and environmental protection, and they want to effectively balance those things. So you have to consider local communities. They still need to get on with their lives. You also want to address economic growth. They do want to make money from tourism. They're not going to deny that. But we also need to protect the environment as well. And it would be interesting to hear what kinds of solutions you guys can come up with for over-tourism. It's a big problem here in Taiwan as well. Now, that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. And there's no Chinese teacher, so we're just going to say goodbye right now. So thank you for joining us. And please check out our content on YouTube and Facebook. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.